Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form. Or if you just want to give this channel some love. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bowman, author of this beautiful book, Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. I'm also the founder of asexual.com and the founder of Asexual Academy. Plus, I'm the author of this awesome fibromyalgia self-help handbook. How to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier like a superhero rock star. And this is me on the back, known as Ace Fibro Girl, Ace standing for asexual in my superhero outfit. So, welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. It's going to be short tonight because I have training at midnight. So I have to, and I've got to cook my food before then. So it's going to be half an hour, roughly, this training. So, or less. So basically, this episode is all about the shocking truth. Yes, it's all about having sex before marriage if you're an asexual person who wants to try sex. If you're not into sex, you hate sex, you're sex repulsed, you don't want anything to do with it, then don't have it at all. But having said that, it's still important to find out any type of sexual compatibility before marriage. Okay, this is something that is very controversial because obviously people who are religious don't believe in sex before marriage. But there are a lot of problems if you get married to someone who is sexually incompatible for you. Now, obviously, sex, when we talk about sex, could mean sexual intercourse, but it could also mean oral sex, anal sex, and sexual acts, right? The whole sexual compatibility encompasses all of that type of thing. Sex, when I talk about sex in general, I mean intercourse. Obviously, some people like anal sex, oral sex, some people like masturbation, but the whole sexual compatibility encompasses all those things, right? And people teach, don't have sex before marriage. And while I feel like morally that's good, I feel practically it's not good. I feel, what happens if you get married to someone and you're totally sexually incompatible with that person? That is going to cause you a lot of anguish, a lot of grief, a lot of stress. So maybe you're an asexual that doesn't want intercourse, you're penetration repulsed, right? But you still don't mind doing some sexual acts. But again, how much of those sexual acts do you want to do? And which ones do you want to do? And which ones do you not want to do? So whilst most people are saying don't have sex before marriage, if I was having sex, I would never ever not have it before marriage. I would always try that first with the person I intend to marry. Because you just don't know what happens when you get married if that person's going to turn out to want sex all the time, consistently, persistently. Right? You just don't know these things. And if you watched my live stream last night, you will know that I met up with a foreign guy in the UK who's been in this country for 3 years, 24 years old, nice person to talk to, not coming on to me, not being horrible, very nice person to talk to, has some good qualities. But what was very, very worrying, concerning, was whilst talking to him like an adult, he may be younger, but we're both adults, right? Whilst having an informative, educational conversation with each other about what we like and we don't like, right? If you remember what he said he would have for example, if he was with an asexual person like me, theoretically, he said he would have a hard time trying to hold back not having sex, trying to hold himself back all the time. Apparently a friend told him it's really difficult. So, and he was explaining to me how in foreign countries there's sex. Hi, Eddie. I heard sex, so I appeared. I thought you might, bless you. I think my most watched keyword for this channel is sex, and I'm an asexual. It's quite ironic, really. But hey, the Asexual Guide to Sex is coming out, so hopefully loads of sexuals will buy it as well, so we can get asexuality more recognised throughout the globe. That's what I want. The Asexual Guide to Sex, I want to finally, for sexuals across the globe to understand what asexuality is all about and to have a greater, deeper understanding of it so we can forge better relationships and friendships going forward with everyone in the world. That's what I want. So anyway, going back to this. So last night when I've had time to reflect on what the guy said, it did quite concern me, right? Because he was explaining, he was a nice person. He wasn't being pushy. He wasn't doing any sexual stuff to me. He was just talking to me like a mature adult in that way, right? And what concerned me, though, as I've thought about it more today, is the fact that he said he would find it hard to hold himself back. And he was talking about foreign guys. And a lot of foreign guys are sexually starved because a lot of them don't have sex before marriage, or they're not allowed to have sex in their country, which is why when they come over here to the UK, they want loads of sex because they can't get it in their country. That's why a lot of them are sex mad over here when they come over here. You have to understand that, right? So I already knew that in part, but the fact that what worries me is he's a guy that doesn't believe in sex before marriage, which I think morally is very good. I think it's good that he's not chasing after loads of women. He's not being a womanizer. He's not throwing himself at women. He's keeping himself for that one woman, theoretically speaking, right? Because just because you get married doesn't mean to say it's going to last, right? So anyway, theoretically, he is keeping himself for one woman. Now, that is great. That's absolutely fantastic. What happens if they get married and they're totally sexually incompatible? Or, you know what I'm saying? Just even if he marries a heterosexual girl, doesn't mean to say he's going to be 100% or even, compatible, because different sexuals have different sexual needs. Some want sex every day, some want it once a week. Do you see what I'm saying? And what worried me was the fact that he'd find it hard to hold himself back, if he was with an asexual. But also not just that, like when I was explaining to him that with my ex, my last long-term ex of 8.5 years, when we did have sex, my ex was very good. He was heterosexual, my ex, not asexual, highly heterosexual in lots of ways, but he wasn't, he could go 2 or 3 months without it, but that was more because he wanted to do it naturally, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if I've said that before, but yeah. And like, well, if you're going to do that, it's more risky. So, there was times when I felt it was too risky to do that. So I would say no. So he would be like, oh, okay, we won't do that then. So it's just the way it was. But so that worked out in my favor, to be quite honest. Oh, hi, Sam. Nice to see you. And so what happened was, with my ex, last long-term ex, when he was having sex with me, if I wanted to stop, absolutely, at all, at any point, and say stop, he would stop. He would always ask me first, are you sure? And he would stop. And I said it before, I'm 12 years without sex at night. Yes, I'm back safe. Oh, that's great, Ray. Wonderful. Lots of love to you as well. Love to everyone. I'm going to be quicker tonight because I've got training. I've got to be quick tonight because I've got to cook food for training. midnight, I'm on training. And it's like nearly 11:15 here when I'm recording this at night, live. And it's live training for over 2 hours. Well, they got a special half-hour bonus. So I'm going to be up till like gone 3 a.m. doing training for a new business and for my self-growth. Anyway, okay, but get back to this live stream. So what I was saying with this foreign guy last time, I had time to reflect on what he said. And what worried me was he was saying, when I was talking about my ex, he was saying he would find that really difficult to control himself and that he don't know if he could do that, basically. So when my ex, like, I'm going to be very sexually explicit. So if you're a sex repulsed person, so if you're a sex repulsed person, then obviously you might want to block careers first. But when my ex was about to come, explode his load, when people have sex, or being very theoretical, very... Anyway, you know what I'm saying? I need to say this because it's important, otherwise you won't know what to talk about. So when I was telling him, when my ex was about to do that, I sometimes had to stop. It was too much for me. It's too uncomfortable, too painful. I had to stop, right? So I would say to him, stop. And he was very, very good like that, even though he was heterosexual, not asexual. And he would literally stop at any point, right? And that's what, even if you get married, you need a person like that, regardless of what sexual orientation you are. So it did worry me last night when I had time, after I'd had time to reflect on it, that he said, oh, he doesn't know if he could do that. This foreign guy, he said, I find it hard to control myself. And I said, oh, yeah, I need a strong guy in that way. Because if I ever was with a heterosexual guy ever again, obviously I don't want sex. He would have to hold himself up. But obviously, just in a normal relationship, because I thought I was heterosexual back then, a normal heterosexual to heterosexual relationship, if a woman has to stop, she has to stop. Some women have got sensitive vaginas. I'm going very blunt here. Some women can't do that all the time. Some women have, like, thing, sensitivity down there, and it becomes too much and they have to stop, right? I'm being blunt because I'm telling you the truth, because this is an educational channel, right? I'm telling you the truth because I know there's going to be some sexuals watching this, not just asexuals. I mean, Eddie obviously isn't asexual but has an asexual girlfriend, right? But it's very important you know this, because it's not talked about, is it really? There's some blog posts about it. If you're a woman, you're more likely to find that than a guy. But guys need to know about this as well. They need to understand why some women have to stop. They physically find it uncomfortable and it hurts them, so you have to stop. Because even if you're married, if you carry on, it's like abuse and rape. If you carry on doing something that's hurting the person physically. And I wish more people understood this. It doesn't matter how much you like sex, you have to learn to be a strong guy who can control themselves and who can stop themselves. You can go off and masturbate yourself if you really need to, right? But you have to stop yourself. I want to make it very clear because I'm worried about the safety of other women, not just me, And, this is a guy who wants to save himself for marriage. But, when he saves himself for marriage, he needs to make sure he gets a highly compatible woman that way. Like, I have an Indian friend. I've had a very highly sexual Indian friend. Been friends with him online for about 6 years now, but he's married to a woman. And when he was talking about getting married to her, I said, oh, I hope she likes sex. He goes, oh, yeah, she loves it as much as I do. So there, you see, therefore, they're very sexually compatible. And I love the fact that despite how sexual he is, he actually really is always on his Facebook with his woman. Profile picture, there's him and his beautiful wife consistently together. It surprised me, actually, because he's one of those guys that was like, he likes a lot of women, right? And so I was surprised that he did that, because a lot of guys that are actually married in India, some of them don't even put their marriage, you know what I mean? They certainly don't usually show their wife off. So I was really glad that he did that with his wife, yeah? So it's good. But what I'm saying to you is, you have to find someone who's sexually compatible. And despite what everyone says, I believe you should have sex before marriage if you're going to have it and try it. I do not believe you should be chained to a person for life if you know what I mean, without finding out if they're sexually compatible with you or not. You know what I mean? Imagine being married to someone for 50 years and they want a lot of sex and you don't like it. Or imagine maybe they can say, maybe they're a person that says, all right, I can live with you without sex, right? But I need to be masturbated or I need to have oral sex. Do you know what I mean? If they expect that from you as an asexual person, even if you don't want to do penetrative sex, you need to make sure this is all out in the open beforehand. This is why personally I don't like marriage. Because I think once you get married to someone, they're pretty much you're chained to them and they can say anything they want to you and just change like that. I personally don't like marriage for that reason. I like the ability to, if someone's treating me badly or we're not compatible, to be able to walk away, because people change. I've seen people, I've been in relationships with people and they change. When you live with them, they change a lot. And so I don't really trust many people like that, obviously if it's an asexual person, some asexuals are still on the more grey end of the asexual spectrum. They might have different sexual touching needs to you. Do you see where I'm coming from? And I don't want for you to get into a situation down the line when you're not completely sure that you're sexually compatible. So, I have had sex in the past. My parents don't believe in sex before marriage. I have to make that clear. They don't believe in it. They think it's wrong. But they know, obviously, I've had it and not got the marriage. Do you know what I mean? I had to go against my parents in that thought mindset, because I don't agree with that. I don't want to be married to someone, and I'm glad in a way, because obviously I could have ended up marrying one of the idiots that I ended up being with and then found out later I was sexually incompatible with them. Do you see what I'm saying? Imagine like years later I found out I was asexual like I did, but I'd married one of them. Where would I be now? It wouldn't be very good, would it? To be perfectly honest with you. And I know it may sound really weird, but as an asexual person, I'm not bothered about sex, right? But I know people don't usually talk about this type of stuff because it's quite taboo, right? But if I'm going to have sex, right, I need to make sure the penis size is the right size to go in me, right? People don't talk about this. Men flash their big penises all over the internet, right? Not every woman can take that huge big penis. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it hurts. So you've got to get a good size if you're going to, like with obviously asexuals think differently. We think more practical about stuff. So it's kind of like you need to get the right fitting one, because if you've got an ill fitting one, it's going to be blooming uncomfortable, painful and horrible for you. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're quite practical about sex if we're going to have it. We're not like, oh, oh, let's get it on. We're more like practical, thinking of like, we're more practical, really thinking of our hands more and thinking what we're going to be doing and thinking, do you know what I mean? Because we're not really interested in the sex for itself sake. We're kind of thinking of all the other practical stuff and about hobbies and interests and other things to do with the person. Do you see what I'm saying? So just like, like you would pick pick something off the shelf to eat that's nice, or just if you were getting, like, for example, a hard drive for your computer, right? You'd want a hard drive that's compatible for your computer, right? You want one that's got big enough size for the capacity of what you need, but not so big that you've got so much space you don't know what to do with and you're like exploding. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and if you have such a tiny hard drive, you know what I mean? It's going to be like negligible. And what the heck was that? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's really, really important to find out all this sexual compatibility before marriage. That doesn't mean to say I think people should go around having tons of sex with God knows who. But I think, if you're in a long-term committed relationship, say you've been together like 5 years or something, and that you want to try sex because you intend to get married to that person anyway, I think it's better to try it than end up in a marriage where the sex or lack of sex or not wanting sex is just not compatible, because otherwise it can be very heartbreaking. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I think it's very, very important, this, and I think it's really important for sexual guys to understand you need to be able to control yourself. You need to develop self-control skills in the bedroom, right? Because there may be times, like I said, when you're with a heterosexual woman, even, there's some women just can't do that. They can't carry on anymore for one reason or the other, right? It just can't happen. If it happens, it'll hurt them. All guys should develop self-control. You should be able to control yourself. You should learn these skills. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you go to the gym. If you go to the gym, you have to like do certain repetitions. Usually, do you? It's a habit. It's something you learn. It's a skill. You should be learning these type of skills as well. And it did worry me when he was saying stuff like, oh, I don't think I could do that, if I was about to come, basically, and having sex with him, I don't think I could stop. And I was thinking, well, you have to, because otherwise you're doing something against her will. Do you see what I mean? I thought it was really bad. Anyway, Sam, that's great, Ray. I've managed to avoid it for my whole life. Glad you're back. Oh yeah, Sam's glad that they managed to avoid sex for their whole life. It's good. Sam's covering their ears, yeah. Thank you, Sam. They should all be like me. Yes, Eddie, I agree. How you are now, not before though. Well, I don't know what you were like before, actually, but I know you said you weren't good with that before, the sex thing, but I don't know if you could control yourself back then. I don't know. I've uncovered my ears now. Hi, Sam. I just stick to my job. It's more exciting. I agree. Yeah, your job is more exciting, Ray. And actually, I love, to be honest, obviously, I prefer writing books. I prefer writing books and helping change people's lives. It's much better, do you know what I mean, than sex. I'm not interested. But I think it's important to say this because some asexuals are on the more sexual end of the spectrum, and I like to cover all the spectrum on my channel, not just the ones that are sex repulsed. Like, I'm sex repulsed these days. And I just think, like, it makes me worried when a guy who seems a really nice person is saying stuff like that. It's quite shocking. And I wasn't really thinking so much at the time, but how I had time to reflect on it, I'm thinking, that's bad, because if someone married you, what happens? I mean, what happens, though, if he decides when he gets married that he doesn't like sex? Maybe he'll find out that he's asexual. I thought I should have said that to him, because, people usually say, oh, what happens, people usually say about, asexuals, like, I thought, well, what about the opposite happens? He has sex and then realizes it's not all it's cracked up to be. He's asexual, and actually he's married to the wrong woman that wants sex all the time, because it can work both ways. Do you know what I mean? Sam, I saw a thing the other day. I was misled about friends with benefits. Apparently the benefits is not free dental. Just thought it was funny because it's true. Oh, Sam, that is really funny. I was misled about friends with benefits. Apparently benefits is not free dental. Just thought it's funny because it's true. Eddie, I was a monster before. Oh, hi, Richard. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, so it's very interesting, Sam, you say that about friends with benefits, because I had a guy message me on Facebook just before I came on the stream, right? He friend requested me. Oh, he's still at it. Right, and And so, right, he messaged me a long time ago, right? September the 20th last year, right? And he followed me on Facebook, on something I do on Facebook, right? He followed me on there. It's a business thing. So I thought he was looking interested in me for business, right? And he's like, oh, you live in Exeter. And I'm like, yeah, so what are you looking to buy? Right? And then he goes, I like you. Hi. And then what you up to tonight? And then I said, and he goes, okay, you're a pretty girl. I said, I know, but I hate sex. I'm not interested in that type of relation. That's fair enough. So then he messaged me tonight. And sorry, friend requested me tonight. And I'm like, you sent me a friend request, but I already told you I'm asexual and sexual orientation and hate sex. I'm not suitable for you. Friends is nice. I said, what? When you fancy the pants off me? Don't think it would work somehow. I do like you, yes. Sorry. I mean, he's not a bad looking guy, to be quite frank with you. But I mean, imagine going on a date with him. I mean, he might be okay. He's older, I think. He might be okay to kiss. But I mean, do you know what I mean? He's going to want sex. I was very blunt. You see, a lot of women wouldn't even put that, you know, like, what, when you fancy the pants on me? Don't think it works somehow. He goes, I do like you. Yes, sorry. I mean, I don't mind the fact he likes me, but at the end of the day, you know, I can't. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what's the point in pursuing someone who, again, is completely sexually incompatible? My idea of friends with benefits is someone that I cook for and they do the washing up. Oh, bless. I hate both of them. Oh, bless you. I hate both of them. I just eat the food. I hate washing up, as you know. Oh, man. I hate washing up. I do more cooking than washing up. I was saying, like, you could cook and Andy could do the washing up and I'll eat the food. I think that's a good combination. Oh, I hate washing up. I have to wear rubber gloves as well. I can't use it without rubber gloves. I'm allergic to washing up liquid plus everything else. So yeah, so you know what I mean? I mean, this guy on Facebook, he literally just friended me, and I felt like saying to him, like, what is the point in, like, where do you want it to lead to? Because I clearly won't be having sex with you. So where do you want it to lead to? Do you just want to snog me, or what do you want to do? Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. He's friends with someone I used to know as well, so but I don't actually know him. But you know what I mean? When he says friends is nice, you know, sexuals usually can't just be friends with someone. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, I just wanted to say this tonight because I thought it was really important, because everyone's like, oh, you know, it seems like there's two types of people. One who has, like, in generalization, there's one who has, like, loads of sex, and there's the guys that have no sex before marriage and reserve themselves. There's kind of like, where's the in between? Do you know what I mean? I think there are a few, but they're few and far between. You know, like a serious committed person, then they do have sex before they get married. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, I know there's a lot of asexuals that don't want sex, that hate sex. But this video, I want to say, if you are an asexual, wants to try it, personally, I think you should try it before you get married, because things can change when people get married. The frequency you have to have sex, or they want you to have sex, what you're doing. And also, it's not just about the intercourse. Sometimes it's sexual acts. Sometimes it's, you know, like, I personally don't like nudity, right? But I used to be completely naked with my ex, you know, that was kind of normal for me back then. And so I don't know if I could ever be completely naked with a guy ever again. At the moment, I'm saying no. That's not, and the last guys I dated, they never saw me naked, not remotely, nothing, all complete with my clothes on. So, and the last guy I was in a relationship with, which was very brief, last year for 3 weeks, British guy, never saw me with my clothes off at all, ever. You know, so, and I dated a heterosexual, didn't I? 2017 for 2 months. He never saw me naked at all either. So, do you know what I mean? I don't want that. But, you know, just imagine you get married to someone and they want you to do some sexual stuff that you're really not into. Do you know what I mean? This all has to be thrashed out and spoken about before. I do think asexuals are better at doing this than sexuals. I have to say, I think asexuals are much better at talking openly and honestly about sex. The ones that got the courage to, and just telling it like it is. Do you know what I mean? There's so many sexuals. I even said in front of my parents the other day, to my parents, I said, you know, there's so many people that, you know, I said asexuals are very matter of fact about sex. I said so many sexuals, they don't even talk about sex, which is quite bizarre, really. There's not enough open, honest communication about sex. Do you know what I mean? Like, sexuals tend to glorify sex, sensationalize sex. do all that type of thing, sexualize everything, but they don't actually have deep conversations about the ins and outs of things and compatibility and stuff like that, which they should all be doing, which is why people get divorced, have affairs, and all the rest of it, because a lot of them, they aren't sexually compatible. It's not the only reason. Money is a huge factor, and communication's meant to be the biggest number one reason why people split up: a lack of communication and a lack of communication skills. And then it's money and money, arguing over money, and lack of sex. Basically, those are like the three top reasons why traditional heterosexual relationships or sexual relationships in general don't tend to work, or relationships in general, full stop. But obviously with asexuals, well, I guess with asexuals it could be the lack of sex if you're with a sexual, but those are the three top ways. The communication is usually the number one, so it's quite interesting. Yeah, if you want to try, definitely should do so before marriage. Could you something about the person too? Could tell you something about the person too. Yes. So Sam agrees. Yes, if you want to try sex, you should definitely do so before marriage. Could tell you something about the person too. Yeah, I'll be advising this in my book and say it's quite a controversial thing to say, but I honestly believe it's the best thing, because there it can tell you a lot about the person. You can tell how aggressive they're going to get or how gentle they're going to be, if they're going to put your needs before their needs, if they're going to like just want to stick it in you, which is so boring. I mean, seriously, I was with a hot Latino guy who was a boyfriend of mine years ago. This is one of the guys I had sex with. 3 weeks of having sex with him, I was so bored. Didn't matter that he was a hot looking, aesthetically really attractive guy. I mean, stunningly attractive, really attractive to me. Like, I was so attracted to it, and his cooking was great. But 3 weeks of I was bored, rigid. I just couldn't stand it anymore. It hurt as well, and it was just like, he was a stick it in guy, and I was just so bored. I thought, is this it? I just can't be doing with it. I didn't even say to him, why do you do that? He goes, oh, because I want, because I like. And it's like, oh, 3 weeks of that. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, it was just absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, it's really, really important to be you know, to discuss all this stuff before marriage and actually try it before marriage. You know, I'm not saying, you know, if you're going to try it at all, and at least discuss all these type of things. Do you know what I mean? So so yeah, it's really important that you do all this and have open and honest communication about it from the beginning. But like Sam said, that's really why I agree, do it before marriage, because it can tell you a lot about the person. You can see how they react, how they treat you in that situation. Like my ex, like a long-term ex, 8.5 years, he was really bad in other ways, but not that. He was like a completely different person, like really gentle, really kind, really thoughtful, put my needs always before himself, would stop when I want. Like, it's two completely different people. He went from being really violent, aggressive, nasty piece of work, really nasty piece of work, verbally, physically, and to being like that, which was like complete opposite. It doesn't make much sense, but there we go. And I'm glad I had that experience, because if he hadn't been bad, it wouldn't have been good. So so yeah, the point I'm trying to make is it could end up being the opposite. You could find that your guy's very, very, very charming, you know, like suave, sophisticated. Obviously, it could be a woman as well, you're not just a guy, but you could find your person is very, very suave, sophisticated, all that lot. And then you get to do the sex bit, and they become very aggressive, and you didn't even realize it. I mean, I can sometimes spot aggression now in nightclubs from the way guys just kiss me, or the way guys look, or the way guys put their hands. You know what I mean? I mean, I can spot abusers usually quite easily, some of them in the nightclub, you know, controlling, emotionally manipulative guys that are very abusive. I can just tell by what they do. For example, when I went to clubbing this week, there was one young guy who decided to grab, you know, he had his tie, he decided to face me. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I found it out shortly afterwards. There was a girl, but he wasn't really dancing with her. He's turning around facing me. And he had this tie that he took off, and he was trying to wrap it around my neck. And I got hold of it. He only managed to put it round like that. I got hold of it and pulled it off. Now that's a controlling guy. Anyone that does stuff like that and tries to put stuff around your neck is a controller. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know some people are into BDSM. I'm personally not. You know, anything like this is not in a BDSM setting particularly, and anyone who does this type of thing, it's not good. They're a controller, right? So later I went to the toilet. Guess what? I need to go and call taxi, because when I tried to ring the taxi before I was actually in the club, it was just busy, the line all the time, and I was so busy dancing that I forgot for half an hour. So I thought, oh gosh, I must go out to the toilet, and then out in the corridor to go and phone for a taxi, because it was too actually noisy in the actual club part itself. So I went to go through the corridor, and he was there with his girl. She was against the wall, and he was trying to sweet talk her, probably into having sex and doing sexual acts, or, you know what I mean, sex stuff, I'm no doubt. And I just thought, yeah, you're a controller, mate. I can tell by your body language. She's against the wall, but it's the way you're positioned and the way you're talking to her, like, oh, come on, type thing, blah, 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 blah. I thought, yeah, I've seen it all before. I used to be with guys like that in the past. So I can, like, kind of spot these type of guys now. They like to use objects to kind of capture you. They like to grab hold of your neck or your arms, or, you know, your wrists and stuff like this. They like to put stuff on you to control you physically. You know, I mean, to other people it might be playful, but it's not playful. I know fully well what they're like. You can just see. They like to dance with other women as well. Me as being one of them. And I don't even know. It's very difficult to tell if these people have got girlfriends, because some of the women, they don't mind you dancing with their boyfriend. It's kind of like, yeah, dance with anyone. So half the time you don't know if it's their friend, their girlfriend, if they don't mind the dancing. You know, you just don't know in that a lot of the time. And it gets very confusing. Obviously, if you see a guy and girl kissing, it's a bit obvious. But if they're not doing that and they're not really being close and there's body space between them, it's kind of really, really weird to work it out. So, you know what I mean? If I think with a girl, sometimes I just smile at the girl in the end, so they know that I'm not a threat, but I'm not a threat anyway. It's not like I'm going to have sex with them, is it? But I think these guys do it because they do it to manipulate they don't just do it. Like, there's one guy last time that's literally, he literally cornered me. It was horrible, very controlling guy. And I actually hurt my leg on the table. He practically squashed into me, and it was, you know, he was trying to dance with me. It was horrible. And he was trying to dance with loads of women. So I think what they try and do, they dance with other women in front of their woman, which is disgusting, just to pretty much say, I can get another woman. And it's a form of control. So it's like, well, if you don't want me, look at all the women I've got queuing up for me. So you better do what I say if you want to keep me. Do you know what I mean? I think that's their psychology of how it works, which again is very damaging and manipulating. So you've got to, before you even try sex, you've got to make sure for definite you want to try it. You know, don't do something just because someone else is pressurizing you into it. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a virgin. If you're a virgin and you want to stay that way forever, then really, 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 really do that. You know, I'm not saying you should have sex whatsoever. I'm not saying you should do any sexual acts whatsoever. You know, as a sex repulsed asexual myself these days, I don't want sex. I don't need it. I don't like it. I don't have to have it. And I've got better things to be doing with my time, quite frankly, like Sam has. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, I have had it in the past, but I just wanted to say this because, like, some asexuals, they feel quite scared to talk to other asexuals because, like, oh, they feel they'd be ridiculed or frowned upon. That's why I'm really glad that Asexual Guide to Sex book is coming out, because I know there'll be lots of asexuals that'll be really peed off I write the book in that title and stuff, because they'll be like, what are you doing that for? Because obviously sex and asexuality don't usually go together. And I really get that. I completely understand where you're coming from. I agree with you in part. But the book is needed by people, because I know I've got people coming to me in private message not knowing what to do, whether to try it or not. Some people having arranged marriages, and they're going to have the arranged marriage where I agree with it. And even if I tell them not to, really, they'll go ahead and do it anyway. So they want to know and prepare for what's coming up for them. Do you know what I mean? The more prepared they are, the more equipped they are, the more safe they're going to be. You know, the book goes through boundaries and being assertive, and part of the book there's a section that covers this type of thing. You know, when I wish I'd had this book when I was 16 and I had to have sex, or rather pressurized it for the first time, you know. And like I said, it's not, some people, you know, might not have full intercourse, but there might be other stuff, you know, and this needs to be talked about a lot. They do it so the woman they are with acts right. What do you mean? They control them? I see that on both sides a lot. Yeah. I can't stay on this stream very much longer because I've got to go and prepare for training in a minute. I've got to cook something and then eat it in 40 minutes. But yeah. So yeah. I you know, it's very important that you know, that compatibility is gathered before marriage. You know, I was a marriage person years ago, but I personally am not into marriage these days. Things have changed a lot, you know. But I mean, just imagine getting with someone you're sexually incompatible with. It's just going to be an absolute prison for you. You know what I mean? And you can't. It's a lot harder to walk away if you're married because you've got contracts, right? What happens if you know the person decides to move? I know some people that have moved. They haven't even been able to find out where the person is that they married to actually get a divorce, or the person refuses them a divorce. Well, they just prolong it for 3 or 5 years. Do you know what I mean? You don't be chained down to that. You know what I'm saying? People can change. It's sad. I knew a woman and she was with her husband 2 or 3 years before he became abusive. Do you know what I'm saying? It's very bizarre, but these things do happen, you know? So, you know, be careful, stay safe, take care of yourself, and be very wary. I mean, when this guy said to me last night, like I wasn't sorry. I wasn't really paying, you know, I was listening to him and I was trying to understand his point of view as a sexual person. But when I thought about it like today, I thought, even if you're sexual, you still need self-control. Because what if you're with a sexual woman and she just decides she can't do that anymore? Because it's hurting her. Do you know what I mean? So it's very important, like before you get married, if you're going to get married, to actually try all these things out before. Anyway, I've got training in less than 40 minutes and I have to get ready. It's a massive training over there's a special half-hour bonus and two hours of training, personal professional development. I need this desperately. I've been waiting for it for days, so I'm gonna have to go because I have to cook late at night, fish and rice tonight. So I got 20 minutes to cook, then eat it. Anyway, before we go, Sam, an ex of mine, was lovely when we met and turned into a physically and emotionally abusive person. So glad we never married. Sorry, decided to have a coughing fit as well. Oh, my throat. Yeah, before I go, I think it's important what Sam said, because it can happen that women abuse men. I mean, Sam's non-binary, but back then Sam identified as male. And so it's important that you understand that women can abuse men as well. It's not just men abusing women. You know, it's very, very important that this does get out there. Some women do abuse men. You know, and I have to say that it's not all the other way around. And I'm glad that Sam admitted that, because it's something that people need to hear, you know. And I am glad to think you never got married. I mean, you would have been a wreck. You know what I mean? I know when I met you, you know, you were a lot less confident, and I think that's partly because of that relationship. You're much better now. You know, you value your worth. You know what you're worth, which is loads. Best friend. So so you're an amazing person, very kind-hearted soul, really, really, so supportive of me. Yes, I just think it's really important to know that. So it's better, you know, whoever you're gonna get with, make sure you're sexually compatible. Have these hard conversations. You know, have these hard conversations. Find all this out before you get married. Find it out as soon as possible, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, just have open on conversations from the beginning. That's what I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I told the guy yesterday in no uncertain terms how much kissing I like, because equally, it's no good if I get with a guy who doesn't want to kiss, because I will feel kissing deprived. I have physical needs just because I'm asexual, and my physical needs are lots of kissing. And if I get with a guy who wants to give me little pecks, doesn't like kissing in public, right? And I fall in love with the guy who doesn't like kissing me in public. I mean, I just can't be with him. I split up with someone because they wouldn't hold my hand in public years ago. I just can't be with that type of guy. It's not my guy. Do you know what I mean? He's the wrong guy for me. But, you know, that's the way it could go. Do you know what I mean? Like yesterday when I was talking about kissing in public, he goes, don't you worry about what happens with children around. And I'm like, no, because it's affection anyway. So that's kind of good to show affection. He goes, yeah, but then kids, they go and do it at school and then their dean tells them off. I was thinking, that's such a weird thing to say. I think, how does he know this? Has it happened to him? It was very, very weird. Very weird. And I'm like, no, I don't care. I live my life for me in the moment. I really couldn't care less what other people think. Do you know what I mean? If I worried about what other people think all the time, I wouldn't do anything in my life. Do you know what I mean? I said, when I was with the British guy, we were kissing on the train. There's people like we got our heads down like this, and there's this girl staring at us. I don't care. I'm even free because I said like I like to kiss around theme parks, zoos, aquariums, and he did say that he liked going to Thorpe Park, which obviously I love theme parks. And he did say, oh yeah, there was some couples when I was at Thorpe Park. He said there was a couple this side of me and a couple of that side of me, and they were both kissing. I said, exactly. I said, it's great if you're in queue. I said, if I'm with my friends, I won't, obviously we chat. If I go around theme parks, zoos, aquariums. I said, but if I'm with a partner, I'll be kissing them because I'm used to that in my last long-term relationship. I enjoyed that part of it. Do you know what I mean? So unless I get a guy like that, there's no point. Anyway, Sam, I'm doing so much better than the last 2 years. Ray, I'll just stick to saving animals. Yes, it's good. Sam, I like to hold hands to be affectionate with a partner. Public, be damned. Yay! It's good. I think it's really good, I mean, some people my parents the opposite of me. I did joke with this guy. I said my parents act more asexual than I do in the sense that they don't even show any public displays of affection, whatever. It's just like having two friends, best friends, do you know what I mean, around you. Seriously, you don't see them holding hands or kissing or anything like that. I used to see a little bit as a kid, but not much, but a little bit. But now I don't really see it. I haven't seen it for a long time when I've been around their place. Do you know what I mean? So, it's just kind of weird like that. But anyway, so I don't care. I'm that type of girl. I like a freedom in that way. Do you know what I mean? To express myself. So, races are 6 to 7 animals. At the moment, I'm concentrating on my career. I don't want to be doing I'm not actively pursuing dating and relationship anymore. Even though, like I said, this guy messaged me tonight. Guys just messaged me anyway. It's not like I'm gonna lack being pursued, is it really? But it's not important for me at the moment. I really need to focus on my career, and I'm getting stuff done. I'm busting through my projects, and all the attention that I was using, all this attention to focus on dating and getting a relationship. Now I'm trying to put all that into business and career stuff. So, and spending time with myself a little bit, having a bit of me time. Putting some music video on while I'm eating food and stuff like that. Anyway, I've got to go because I'm going to be doing training soon. So I want to thank you so much for being in the live stream today. If you've got any more comments, queries or questions, don't forget to put them down below. Sam, before we go, I'm concentrating on space era and attending meetups. So maybe I will meet someone through them. Yes, so Sam's plan is that Sam's going to try and go to as many meetups as possible around the country to see if now they're they. I did mention they used to be male. They these days are they, so that they can try and find a suitable person. Because one of my other asexual friends did that, and they found the love of their life. So I think it might work. It's a good plan. I'm a bit more specific about specific foreign guys, but yes. So I think that's really good, Sam. Good night, Sandra, Ray, Eddie, Richard, Jerry. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your dinner and train, Sandra. Take care, Sam. Yeah, lots of love to Sam, Richard, Eddie, Scary, Jerry, Ray. Lots of love to everyone. And I think I've covered everyone. Eddie, Ray, Sam, Jerry, Ray, Sam, Jerry, Eddie, everyone. Richard. Bye. Have a good one. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Embrace your quirky and each other's. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. Bye.